Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Intentionally Find the Bad Endings for Katawa Shoujo, where we're continuing from where we left off. Let's see. So what are you doing for summer holidays, Hanako? Only I quickly count the days in my head. Today's Monday, the school finishes on Saturday. 5 days to go after all. I was thinking of traveling, just around a bit. There's a lot of places I want to see, and I think I have enough money to pay for the bus and train rides. Naomi and one of the other girls in the newspaper club said they might come along too. Her look indicates she's given the matter quite a lot of thought. I'm kind of surprised that she's contemplating something like this. It seems she's really become intent on striking out on her own. Is there anywhere in particular you're thinking about going? I was thinking that Kyoto sounds nice. I think I'll try to go to a few places though. Lily nods in approval, happy with Hanako's plans. While I cast my eyes to Lily, I refrain from asking her the same question. She's been evasive with her plans for the future for a long time now, but I never seem to get a good time to broach the subject alone with her. Every time it come up in a conversation, it feels like she is either unsure of herself or simply dodging the question. It's troubling. Be sure to call sometime while you're out and about. I gave you my number before, right? Hanako gives a nod, a happy smile on her face. It's strange to see how happy people seem to become when they have a goal to work towards. Yuko seems brighten what? Yuko seems to brighten whenever her university aspirations are brought up, and now Hanako is just the same. So why do I feel this uncertainty? And why Lily too? Relationships really are irritatingly troublesome sometimes. Oh, what time is it? Oh, it takes me a second to remember that Lily's clock doesn't have a visual feedback. I really should know, given how many times I've been in her room. Nevertheless, I take my watch from my bag and quickly check it, the reason for asking becoming clear. It's about 20 past 10, nearly curfew. Hanako raises to her feet, dusting herself off and and neat net neatening 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 her gown after doing so. I'd better be going, then. Good night, Lily. Hasao. Sleep well, Hanako. See you tomorrow. With that, she walks to the door and quickly makes her exit. Hmm? Silence. This seems to be happening more and more between Lily and I recently. After a few seconds, I finally find something to talk about. Oh yeah, I talked to Matao on Friday and finally checked out some guides on college and how to apply for it. That's good news. If you're going to be applying for colleges, I assume you have some idea in mind of what you might do in the future? I think I've settled on becoming a science teacher. It's going to take a while to get through university and everything to be qualified, but I think it'll be worth it. Lily's face brightens considerably at the news. I suppose with her wish to becoming a teacher, she's delighted I'd take the same kind of path. So you've decided a career on teaching? I think that path suits you most excellently, Hasao. I smile and nod, this time even if I know she can't see me doing it. I know she feels it. I imagine Mattel would have taken to the news well. That's one word for it. Hey, Lily. Yes? I know you want to be a teacher, but for a second I wonder whether I should really ask her the question on my mind. But that's quickly brushed aside by the fact that this is rather late to have second thoughts. Surely you don't still think I'd be offended by something regarding my blindness. Her accusing tone is betrayed by her grinning face, amused by my awkwardness and raising the topic. Some things never change. Good point, I guess. I was just thinking whether or not being blind would be a hindrance. What with your ambition to become a teacher and all. She looks mildly surprised before giving the question some thought. I refuse to think that she's actually pondered this issue before. I wonder, Sal, could you close your eyes for a moment? Okay. Raising an eyebrow, I do as she requests. I have no idea what she has in mind. My question only increases as I peek out from one eye. She's getting closer. Taking the black ribbon she usually wears in her hair from the cabinet beside her bed, she advances toward me while running it through her fingers to remove any stray of hairs remaining on the piece of cloth. I suddenly click on to her intentions as I feel a black strip make contact with my face, wrapping around my head and over my eyes. Hold on, you guys. I don't know if there's nudity right here or I don't know. Let me just check real quick, okay? See you in a bit. Okay, I'm back. Looks like there isn't, so let's continue. I suddenly click on to her intentions as I feel the black strip make contact with my face, wrapping around my head and over my eyes. What exactly is this for? It's a little test, this house, since you have seemed to be wondering. I'll let you see things as I do for a time. Huh? So that's what this is about. To be honest, this actually sounds kind of fun. Childish and rather silly to anyone who would be watching, but a bit of silly fun never hurt anyone. I stand up with a heave, my hands quickly moving out in front of me to warn me of any obstacles. Okay, now what? Now touch me. If you say so. Now then. I slowly make my way forward towards the sound of Lily's voice. My walking speed could barely even be called a shuffle. The entire experience feeling alien enough that I don't want to risk inadvertently tripping over anything such as her table or her haphazard pile of books. Something soft yet solid brushes against my left leg. Further inspecting reveals it to be Lily's bed. I move onward, finding myself thankful that Lily's room is so neat and tidy. Even the piles of books she has are generally kept close to the wall, well, out of harm's way. The hard wall pressing against my outstretched hands makes me furrow my brow in frustration. Hey Lily, where are you? What are you doing over there? I'm over here. Lily's voice comes from the other side of the room, far from where it was before. Even to my untrained ear, if she's going out of her way to avoid me reaching her, then is this just a game to her? Of course it is, compared to a life where even the concept of sight is an abstract one. A few minutes in being blindfolded are nothing. I guess she's made her point. She's more than capable of navigating her room. And further, I've seen how independent she is, even when compared to many of the other students in Yamako. Or Yamaku. I've been saying Yamako. Well, even if it's just a game, I may as well play it wholeheartedly. Sorry. With a pace much quicker than before, I move towards the source of her voice, deftly sidestepping the table in the center of the room thanks to remembering its position. I got you now. She gives an impish giggle, one just long enough to work out that she's passing just beside me. I quickly turn around to face the new direction. The table wasn't there before. Ow, 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 ow. I slowly sit up next to the table, raising my blindfold as I rub my aching head. I get an irritated kick to the table that's sitting just in front of where I fell. Utterly pointless, but this thing deserves it. Sal? Lily's still standing, just on my side, just to my side, obviously unsure of what's befallen me. Sorry, I kinda fell over. Are you hurt? My head hurts, but I think I'm okay. I think the table moved in order to trip me over. She giggles as she walks over and takes a seat beside me, her hand resting on my own. I suppose that's the end of that then. I think so. But I also think I get the point, though I do wish it hadn't involved such a headache. Lily, Lily suddenly looks blank. Point? As I return an extraordinary flat look. That was just for fun. That was just for fun. I just thought it might ease you up a little about the subject. You always seem to be tiptoe around it, after all. In regard to teaching, sight isn't that important. There are plenty of classes taught by entirely blind teachers, and more than enough resources for me to learn the subject. It's as simple as that, really. I slump my shoulder and give a snort of amusement. Yeah, I understand, I guess. We'll both just have to work hard to reach our goals then. What is it? With a little hesitation, Lily pushes forward her chin and closes her eyes in an unmistakable gesture. We're gonna kiss? Yep. I accept gladly, our lips touching as they do. I suddenly feel her hand shaking up in my chest from underneath my shirt. The feeling of her hand against my bare skin is enough to make my heart suddenly accelerate. So she's in that kind of mood again. Well, I'm hardly one to complain. She does generally like this, and even with all my medication, my libido is thankfully still intact. I lean into the kiss further, holding my hand tightly as I feel it tracing the contours on my chest. Eventually, we break off from one another. The room is silent, but for our breathing. Hey, Sal. Yeah? I don't suppose you could wear the blindfold again. Her tentative suggestion takes me by surprise. I suppose he wants to induce me to sex to her eyes as well. Or just wants to find out what I'll be doing. I'll be like during the act while hampered by the blindfold. With a measure of unease tempered by curiosity, I do as she says, and lower the blindfold over my eyes. The world becomes dark once again. I reflectively tense as I feel Lily's hand gently brush the side of my face, entirely unable to anticipate her touch. I really need to get more used to contact like this. Even after the week we've spent going out, it isn't as natural for me as it is for her. Silence? Hey, Lily? Shh. I obediently follow her instructions and quietly listen, trying to make out something, anything that's happening around me. Compared to before, when I was chasing Lily, the need to carefully navigate the room's obstacles is now gone. I can take my time and concentrate more harder on listening. It takes a while, but I can eventually pick out the soft sound of her breathing in the otherwise dead silent room. In, out, in, out. Measuring it against my own breathing, I realize it's definitely deeper than normal, especially for her. Another sound makes its way to my ear, one that I can't identify immediately. I don't think I've heard it before, but my heart skips a beat as I realize the source. My hand almost inflexibly reaching out towards it. Her face feels softer than usual under my touch. Her head just barely turning in acknowledgement towards the fingers of her cheek. On her cheek. Sal? I go up and take a moment to try and calm down. I need all the concentration I can muster while I'm like this in order to fully take in my surroundings. After a few deep breaths, I think I've managed to collect myself. With the touch so light that it wouldn't disturb a feather, I start to move my hand down her body. Ooh. And I can feel myself losing focus again, thanks to those thin, silky pajamas of hers resting so perfectly over the curves of her body. If she's like this, then that means she has to be sitting against her bed facing me. Now to continue. Alright, this must be her hip. If I just move slowly downwards. Whoa, okay. I still don't think there's nudity. Because I think... More, I want more! Ugh, my heart. I can feel my chest tightening as I rock back and forth frantically, both of us entirely taken with ourselves. Nothing that unusual. I just need to take deeper breaths to steady myself. This feeling is just normal. Ah! This isn't. I can't. This pain is too much. Arg. Arg, matey. I stumble backwards from Lily with unseemly haste, clumsily hitting the back of my foot against the table and falling to the ground with unceremonious crash. Crash. Breathing widely, I frantically scrape at the ribbon over my eyes as I lay on my back. I have to get this off. For a moment, everything goes blank as the rush of newfound light against my eyes. My breathing slows from the brink of hyperventilation. Seconds pass and I carefully measure out the rhythm of my heartbeats with every ounce of concentration I can muster. My heart is normal. It's back to normal. My body feels utterly bizarre as I lay dazed on the floor looking at the ceiling. The adrenaline from before is still pouring through my veins, but my mind is completely exhausted. I prop myself up as I hear Lily getting off the bed and coming towards me. Excuse me. Hisao? Are you okay? Hisao? I'm fine, Lily. I'm fine. She gives a sigh of relief, her worried expression collapsing. Her face afterward is the very last I'd have ever wanted to see from her. It's a face I detested when I first saw my parents in the hospital all those months ago. Pity. Lily pities me. I just close my eyes and turn away, powerless. I feel like throwing up. I can hear the sound of Lily moving away and quickly attending to herself. The ruffling of her clothes being pulled back on after a moment of searching, just barely audible. Sorry. She slowly shakes her head as she finishes buttoning up her top. Her kind smile looks so fragile, so delicate. It makes my heart sink. Approaching carefully, she feels out the edge of the low table before taking a seat next to me, putting her arms around my chest. I'm sorry, Hisao. I shouldn't have pushed my desires onto you. You don't need to apologize. I'd normally be fine. You've seen that much before. I guess I shouldn't have tried to push myself so far. My eyelids feel heavy. Calmly sitting next to her like this is probably letting the adrenaline work itself out of my system, and letting my mind relax. So that's why you never took the lead? Yeah, I guess it's a good thing you like to, huh? The joke seems to brighten her expression a little. In fact, which helps me feel less unease about my unreliable self. Lily's head comes to rest on my shoulder as I struggle to keep my eyes open. With more difficulty after each blink, I feel completely drained. It's okay, Hisao. It's all okay. No sooner does she say this than a small quiet tune escapes her lips. Entirely too tired to think, all I can do is listen to her soft humming. It's a soft, almost melancholic tune. Melancholic tune. It sounds familiar, but the more I try to remember its origins, the less I seem to able to concentrate. The feeling and the scent of her head gently resting on my shoulder and her warm body against my side are soothing. The soft humming of her voice, too, relaxes my mind as much as the warmth relaxes my muscles. This singular, quiet moment, after all the fracas, it makes me realize just how exhausted I've become. I can feel my eyelids slowly becoming heavier and heavier. Even with the chaos of before, I wish this moment would last forever. Lily and I together, sharing a single, solitary occasion together, just as we used to. But if that's the case, why does she feel further away than she's ever felt before? La da da, boo boo blue, loo doo doo. Okay. The loud chatter of the books falling into the return slot abruptly breaks the grip of silence over the school's library. It becomes a habit for me to come to the library at least once a week. Not only does the reading itself keep me busy, but discussing books with Hanako and Lily also does. Obviously startled, Yuko suddenly twists towards the direction of the noise. I'd have thought her used to people dropping books by now, but since she does work here. Oh, hello, Hasao. Back again. It takes me a moment to respond, my mind still disoriented by the familiar melody of Lily's humming that's hardly left my ears in the several days it's been since I fell asleep to it. Hmm? Oh yeah, just returning some books I borrowed. She cast her eyes downward, presumably to the bin the books dropped into. You're a very heavy reader, aren't you? It's become a bit of a routine now. Passes the time at least. I wish I had free time to pass. For small talk to depression in less than 5 seconds. I think that's a new record for her. She seems a bit down in general today, even compared to normal. Considering she has to work 2 jobs just to support herself, I could see how that would take a toll on her lifestyle. Excuse me. Come to think of it, the pay of her job here can't be all that bad. The idea of staff in such a prestigious private school going hungry strikes me as counterintuitive. Working 2 jobs must take a lot of time. I'd probably never manage it. You're lucky being a student. Do you think you'll be able to go to university? If she's asking, then I guess that's the expected result of having that kind of education. Private schools like this don't exactly come cheap. I guess I have the money, I think. Excuse me. Ugh. I got plans which will require going to one, and my marks are good enough. It's more a matter of how I pay to do so. I'll pay to do so. University costs so much that I'm having to work 2 jobs to afford to enter it. Paying for daily expenses too makes it a lot harder. If you're reading this much, though, that means you're doing well in school, right? Interesting logical jump. Not an altogether wrong one, though. I suppose so. I didn't find any of the exams very hard, aside from maybe 1 or 2. Do you mind if I ask what studies you're pursuing in university? Yuko appears to be generally brightened at my question. Anthropology, to be specific. I'm specializing in history of classical era Athenian civilization and democracy. She really seems to know her stuff. Such enthusiasm is to be admired, and it's nice to see her genuinely excited about something. I guess even somebody like Yuko can be happy if she has a visible road ahead of her. That's good to hear. Both of us jumped at the sudden interruption coming from my pocket. Apologizing profusely and quickly shuffling into the hallway as I fumble over the cover of my mobile phone, I glance at the screen. Weird, it's a mobile number I don't recognize, considering I can count the number of people with my number on one hand. I briefly wonder whether it's some telemarketer that lucked out. Hello, Hisao Nakai speaking. Geez, pick up faster next time. Anyway, guess who? It only takes me a second to recognize the distinctly deep brosque voice. Hey, Misha, didn't expect you to call me. Huh? Yeah, actually think I sound like her? You actually think I sound like her? Not at all, Akira. I don't remember giving you my number, though. So I thought I'd mess with you. Oh, that? I got Lily to give it to me. Not hard. She positively brims with pride at the statement. She's trying to get me caught up in her pace, I know it. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised that the two would share my number, though, given how close they are. So what's up? You free right now? I guess. Why? Could you meet me at the park in town? I just wanted to talk to you about some stuff. Is that an invitation to a date? What? Of course not. She suddenly she sounds suddenly crestfallen, her previous teasing nature having instantaneously left. It seems strange for her. Although I don't see why not. When do you want to meet? Kind of nowish. Wait, right now? But it's... The dead silence suddenly coming from the phone announces the fact that she has unceremoniously hung up. For a long time, I just stand there, staring at the call-ended message on the screen, while replaying the conversation in my head. What the hell, Akira? Throwing a glance up and down the street, I cross the road to step into the park. I've learned to pace myself in such walks, mostly because Lily's slower speed during our forays into town means I have to consciously slow myself down. That aside, I hope Akira didn't expect me to be immediately prompt. It takes only a couple of seconds to spot her, waiting on a bench with a can of beer in her hand. The look she gives me as I walk up lacks any hint of acknowledgement or greeting. What's with that look? I needn't have come, you know. I knew you would. You're that kind of person, after all. I lower my brow at her remark as she disposes of the can emptied by the time I arrived, and a metallic chatter rings out. Akira takes a seat on the old wooden bench, and I follow her lead. She takes another can of beer from beside her and opens it before speaking. Taking a large gulp, she seems to really like that stuff. Beer's gross. I suppose I don't need to ask what this is about, or rather, who it's about. I heard from Millie that you asked about our family. They share more than phone numbers, that's for sure. I'd probably be worried right now if it weren't for the total lack of malice in her voice. Rather, her tone sounds almost wistful. Idle curiosity, mostly. I have to admit, I never have guessed you two were half Scottish. She gives a weary chuckle of amusement. I've heard that before, trust me. The small smile falls from her face, her eyes looking ahead distantly. Aside from the occasionally elderly couple taking as they slowly walk in meandering paths, and the odd aging car, it's pleasantly quiet. Excuse me. She didn't tell you everything, though, did she? It was pretty brief. Your parents live in Scotland. Ugh, excuse me again. She hasn't met them since she was 12, and she wants to meet them again. It's always surprised me how devoted she is to our parents, for all the good they did us. The way she says it sounds almost derisive. Derisive. She gives a small sigh as if to quickly brush the feeling away. Why do you think they left us, Hal? Why do I think they left? From what Lily told me, it was because of work. I guess a pretty decently paying job was involved as well, given the way your parents seem to live. So Lily went to private school, and that's why she carried herself with the airs and graces of the upper class. Yeah, since the business is in neverness boomed, our father decided to move directly to the same city as its headquarters. That's just a conclusion I thought you'd come up to, though. You're too good-natured. You don't think they left for their career? I'm sitting here bitching to you about it. What do you think? Yamaku Academy. I've always felt the place was kinda creepy. Like it was an isolated hideaway for those proper society doesn't want to see nor hear. They probably just rue the fact that Lily wasn't old enough to be shoved there by the time they left. A long silence follows her, rubbed from harsh criticism of her own parents and Yamaku. Lily's blindness is hardly something that could be simply ignored for a high-class family, attempting to keep up appearances, much less so when a lucrative offer is on the table. Eventually, Akira gives a derisive snort, feeling coming to a head. Moving to secure our financial future with his job, with his new job posting, even at a time I hardly believed it. Not wanting to simply be an avenue of her venting, I gently tried to steer the discussion. So they stayed in Japan with Lily then? So you stayed in Japan with Lily then? Either I stayed with her, or she went on to live with an ailing grandmother and grandfather. What about Shizun's family? If you're cousins, then. Our fathers hate each other. I'd have been more happy to tell them to go screw themselves and live with them anyway, but Lily wouldn't have wanted that. I'd also had an offer for a job by then, so we did our best to keep our parents' house in proper shape and tried to continue our lives if they'd never left. So you just lived by yourselves? Basically. Lily had school and I had a job, so we weren't exactly languishing. With her schooling, her study, and having to do chores while I worked, though I can't help feeling like I failed her. In the end, I tried to be there for her, and screwed it up. Accepting a 19-year-old to be a mother for a blind child it's ridiculous. So Lily and Akira lived alone after their parents moved, with Lily largely taking care of herself. I guess that explains her apparent independence compared to many in Yamaku. I may have lived alone much of my time since my parents both worked, but that's just something else entirely. Sorry for making you listen to my moaning, Hisao. I don't mind at all, but do you mind if I ask why you're telling me all this? Humph, you always were curious. Context, I suppose. Life isn't a fairy tale, Hisao. Some people have to learn that the hard way. She takes a long drink from the can in her hand, her face becoming more depressed than distant. I broke up with my boyfriend a few days ago. After I leave, we're not going to be able to see each other again. But that's how life is. You can't just set up your life up and expect it to. You can't just set up your life up and. You can't just set your life up and expect it to stay the same way forever. Stay the same forever, whatever. Sometimes stuff happens that you have to roll with, even if it means hurting yourself or others. She takes a long, deep She takes a long breath before looking up to the bright orange sky. Damn, if I smoked, I could have a nice long drag right about now. And looks kinda cool. I want to respond to her, to help her in whatever way I can, but I feel utterly useless. This kind of situation is one that I've never been in, and I simply don't have the experience to say anything meaningful to comfort her. Akira looks over and evidently picks up on this, much to my embarrassment. I must look pretty pathetic right now, whining about this to someone I barely know. Hardly, and I'm pretty much an expert at looking pathetic. She gives a chuckle and the act feeling like a personal victory to me. For me. You're a good kid, Isao. Then I suppose that I approve of you being with my sister. I wasn't joking, or just being nice. She picks herself up off the seat with a grunt, one that seems ill-fitting given her age, and throws down the now empty can into the bin after one last swig. It's just unfortunate that doesn't really count for much in this world. When I said that I was leaving for Scotland, I was doing it because a good position opened up in our company's headquarters. When our folks told me that when we were at their place, though, they also gave Lily a summons to rejoin them in Iverness. No way. Her evasiveness when asked about her future, that awkwardness that had steadily grown between us, that uncharacteristic outburst of anger. All of them suddenly fit into place. The same family that seems reminiscent about how Hanako's birthday party. What? The same family that has reminisced about after Hanako's birthday party. The same family that left her and Akira to themselves after taking flight to greener pastures. Now I feel stupid for never cornering Lily on what was bugging her. I never even considered if something had happened during her trip to her family's home at Everness. And now a sense of unease grows in my chest. If her family has summoned her to join them in Scotland, all the way on the other side of the earth, has she accepted? Lily hasn't told me whether she plans to accept, and it seems she hasn't told you either. That's why I called you down here to talk, Kasao. Context, huh? I sit back, my feeling of worry and frustration no doubt written all over my face. Lily's a strong person, Kasao, but she's not infallible. I guess it's my job to worry about her, being her older sister, but I think you deserve to know. I understand. You okay? You sound depressed. No, I'm just thinking. That's good. Thinking is good. Being rash won't get you anywhere. She looks at her watch, barely moving her wrist. I've gotta go. Will you be okay? I'll be fine. Don't worry. I'll have a talk to Lily about it and get everything sorted out. She gives a smile, but doesn't feel all that genuine or sincere. Really, both of us are dancing around the fact that Lily on the precipice? What the hell word is that? Precipice? Precipice? I don't know. Of the biggest decision of her life and is trying to take the entire burden on herself. And a part of that burden in a matter of our relationship. And part of that burden is the matter of our relationship. By the time I look up, Akira's already walking off with her hand held up. For the first time in a long while, I finally have an answer to something. Perhaps not even that, but at least I have the right question to ask. Will you leave or stay? Okay, I think this is a good place to stop. So next time we'll continue from here. Alright? Later, you guys.